Embark has just given us the matchmaking system for ARC raiders. There's been so much speculation about this, and I cannot wait to read this and get a good sense of exactly what's going on here. So let's go through this. This is actually huge because I feel like there's been so many misconceptions about the matchmaking in ARC raiders that I cannot wait to dive into this. Okay, so here you go. You've probably seen plenty of discussion about matchmaking in ARC raiders. We've been reading it too, and we want to bring some clarity to what the system is trying to do, what it does in practice, and what it doesn't do. Oof, let's go. What we strive for. In the Rust Belt, the kind of raider you become should be up to you. Topside works because it's unpredictable. You can never be sure if you can trust the people you meet or how dangerous they might be. That freedom and the uncertainty it creates is what drives the tension, the encounters, and the choices that make every run feel like its own story. 1000% agree. At the same time, we don't want dedicated PvP players consistently steamroll raiders who aren't as interested in PvP or who are still finding their footing. So our matchmaking is built around two goals. Fairness. We do our best to match players who have a similar likelihood of succeeding in the round. One simple example, we prioritize matching equal squad sizes where possible. Yes, I feel like honestly, that's their number one priority. I haven't ever run into a duo and a solo, and I've never run into a trio as a duo ever since the game launched. I feel like squad size matchmaking is priority number one. That makes sense. Okay, I don't know. It's interesting though that there's more examples that they're not sharing there. And it's an interesting phrase, similar likelihood of succeeding. It is an interesting way of putting it. And clearly there are more examples that relate to the quote unquote fairness bullet point here that we're not seeing, but that's really interesting. Enjoyment. We do our best to match players who are likely to have fun together. In practice, we found that matching players based on playstyle drives enjoyment and reduces friction. Okay, that sounds like aggression-based matchmaking to me in a nutshell. And like any matchmaking system, we pursue those goals while respecting real constraints such as matchmaking time and latency. Of course, at some point, it's going to pull the trigger on matchmaking and just throw anybody together. 100% agree. That makes total sense. Every matchmaking in every video game is like that. You can't have a hard cap on, PvE players all being in the same lobby if it's like in a region where there's not a lot of players. Right, at some point it has to pull the trigger and just throw a bunch of people in there as close as it can. To the best of its ability, but never exactly how you might expect it. Playstyle based matchmaking. We take multiple factors into account when forming a lobby. One of the strongest is your playstyle across previous rounds, especially as it relates to how you engage with other raiders. It's important to understand that playstyles aren't binary. This isn't friendly versus shoot on sight. It's a continuous scale. Yes. I've always said in the past that it is damage to players divided by the last 10 rounds. And whatever number that creates puts you in like a bucket, either a PvE bucket, a 50-50 bucket, or a PvP bucket. And yes, those buckets can overlap, but that's the general idea, at least how I always thought about it. And there was nothing else that impacted the actual aggression-based matchmaking. I know there's other things that do impact matchmaking as a whole. Obviously, squad size, like we just talked about. Region, latency, all those things are evaluated. But as far as the aggression part goes, I feel like players are put into a bucket. PvE bucket, 50-50 bucket, PvP bucket, damage over the last 10 raids. And that's like a number that, determines which bucket you go into. Let's see if I'm wrong or right. I'm probably wrong. Some raiders are almost always cooperative. Some raiders are highly engaged in PvP. Most raiders fall somewhere in between, maybe friendly until threatened, maybe opportunistic, maybe cautious, maybe unpredictable on a bad day. Our system tries to place you with players who sit closer to you on that scale while keeping topside from becoming completely predictable. This is what they talked about recently in a dev interview about not wanting PvE players to just never feel that. And this is exactly what they're saying. They want things to remain slightly unpredictable at worst case scenario, right? Like obviously when you're in PvE lobbies, you're not getting shot very much, but it's still a chance. And so that unpredictability must remain. And that's something that they're clearly striving for. And this is not the first time we've heard that from the devs. And I think it makes the extraction shooter experience incredibly interesting. Holy, what the frick is this graph? Matchmaking profile distribution. Players are spread across a continuous spectrum, not a binary choice. Player percent play style. Illustrative chart for explaining purposes, not real matchmaking telemetry. So the specific player. Oh, is this like the this is kind of like the number that I'm talking about. Damage to players divided by 10, sort of. That's what that looks like down here. Something to this effect. So the specific player in this particular, so obviously this is PvE, 50-50 PvP, right? Basically. This player is sort of on the PvE end, right? Maybe if I was looking at this graph, I would say that this person has shot and damaged maybe 1 or 2 players in the last 10 games. If I look at this graph objectively right now. So the likely lobby range for this person is here. Not here, obviously. That, of course. This is kind of interesting. I don't understand. To me, it's like they're showing a very specific spot here. But to me, it's the likely lobby range is like this. That probably steers away from like this. It would be like a circle, like all of that. Like a circle around this circle is probably what I would imagine. There's no way it's like a specific. I don't know. I could be wrong. But it's not like as they're saying this is not like exacting, but this is just like to give you an idea. Very interesting. Okay, let's keep going. What it does, there are 2 simple rules to how playstyle based matchmaking behaves. Similarity is more likely, not guaranteed. You have a higher chance of being matched with raiders whose past playstyle is similar to yours, and a lower chance of being matched with raiders whose playstyle is very different. But there's no hard guarantee. Yes, of course. So basically what this means is if you are a PvE player and you never shoot anybody, the likelihood of you getting paired with other PvE players is very high, but not guaranteed. Perfect. We already know this. Your behavior shapes your future lobbies gradually. If you change how you play, the kinds of raiders you tend to meet will gradually shift over time. Your behavior influences what's most likely, but never locks you into a single experience. It's basically the same thing they just said, other than the fact that we know that it's over the course of multiple games. I like to think that it's 10 games. I know for an absolute fact, if you never shoot at a player for 10 games, you are in the PvE bucket. You're down here. You're literally right here. If you never shoot at a player for 10 straight games, you're down here, without a doubt. This is why we see such a wide range of interactions topsides. Raiders forming impromptu musical bands and others vibing along, strangers lending a hand in a tough moment, while scavengers thrive on remains, betrayals, and when you least expect it, and justice when you need it most. Firefights that start on site and negotiations that end with everyone walking away. Okay. Some outcomes are rarer than others, but they're all part of what makes each round a unique adventure. I think this is such an important thing for everyone to understand. For PvP players, for PvE players, and everyone in between. It's all about creating a unique adventure every single time you queue up the game. And that's exactly what aggression-based matchmaking does, and why it's so good. This isn't a full-blown attempt to segregate playstyles. Topside wouldn't be topside if it didn't throw you a curveball now and again. We want you to have fun, but danger always lurks, and you will still meet raiders who surprise you. Perfectly said. Myth busting, here we go. Let's see how wrong I am about a lot of this stuff. We want to keep some level of mystery in matchmaking because unpredictability is a part of the experience, but we can clear up a few common myths. There are not only 2 kinds of lobbies. Yes, that's exactly what I've already said. Yes, so we were right on that one. Friendly and aggressive. It's scales. Not 2 buckets, but it is 3 buckets, right, guys? Surely. Most players land somewhere between the extremes, and matchmaking is more likely to pair you with raiders whose playstyle is similar to yours on a scale, not guaranteeing a specific outcome around. Okay, so it's not 2 buckets, but it really kind of is 3 though. You could see it in the graph, and they even have it separated as 3. They have cooperative, so they're saying it's not this and PvP. They're saying it's this and this and this. And yes, you know, I understand the scaling, but for all intents and purposes, it is kind of 3 buckets, surely. One shot or kill does not immediately put you in PvP focused lobbies. All right, we knew that as well. There's a lot of PvE players that are stating that, and they're just completely wrong. You'll see PvE players be like, "Oh my god, I accidentally looted a down player and now I'm in PvP lobbies." No, that doesn't affect it either. And we've already proven this many times. It's not even just one kill, but like multiple kills, you'll still likely be in that lower PvE bucket. Matchmaking isn't meant to overreact to single moments. It looks at patterns over time, and changes tend to be gradual rather than instant. Exactly, because it's taking the average over your last. It's taking player damage over your last 10 games. I feel like we're still on point with this, but until they prove me wrong here. There are no PvE only lobbies where raiders will never attack you. Topside always carries risk. You may trend towards medium raiders with similar preferences, but there's no guarantee you'll never be attacked by another raider. That's true. However, when I get into PvE lobbies and I never fired a player, I have gone in excess. This is in the past. I've gone in excess of 100 straight raids without ever dying in PvE lobbies and only being shot at like a maximum of 3 times. So you're talking about so many raids, weeks, like multiple weeks in a row without ever getting shot at for the most part, except for like a couple times. So yes, that is true. Now, granted that I'm sure that a lot of that is region based, and the number of players that exist at that time that I play that share the similar behaviors that they're talking about here, or similar preferences. And it's also solos. Yes, that's right. Solos make a big difference as well as far as aggression-based matchmaking. But there's no guarantee that you'll never be attacked, and that's true as well. So my PvE lobbies in solos could be different than your PvE lobbies. That's basically what that's saying. You could see more shots towards you in your lobbies than I do in mine, because you live in a different region, or you play at a different time, or you play on night maps all day long, or you play Stella all day long. Like, of course, there are a lot of variables there. Your end of round feedback does not affect matchmaking. Remember when someone tried to tell me that that was a thing? That's so hilarious. The survey is valuable for us when we look at trends and make design decisions. It isn't used as a next lobby lever. That's so funny. I remember when people were thought that was a thing. I don't think anyone actually really believed that though. Okay, your loadout does not affect matchmaking. Matchmaking isn't driven by your kit, and we don't scale lobby difficulty based on how much your loadout costs. I find that very interesting, because I do tend to notice when I run lower quality gear that the people that I meet and or fight are running lower quality gear. Like, I'm not running into people with Tempest 4s and Bobcats all day long. And then when I watch a lot of I'll watch a lot of PvP streamers in my spare time, and every single team that they're fighting has like Tempest 4s, and while they also have Tempest 4s. So there's a part of me that has always felt like there was some level of gear-based matchmaking. But maybe it's all in the wording here. As in, I'm a friendly player, I bring in a Tempest, and now all of a sudden I get vaulted into PvP lobbies. Maybe that's what they're saying here, versus, I mean, how do you say, versus I bring in Tempest in my PvP lobbies and everyone else around me is also bringing in Tempest, as not like as a hard rule, but just like bigger kits. Because I think you could read this 2 ways. Anyway, perhaps I'm wrong. Oh boy, there's a lot here. Patches and updates don't reset your matchmaking profile. Yeah, we already proved that 150 times. People still never believed me, so we were right about that from the get-go. Your playstyle history carries over across patches. You may notice slight rougher matches in the first few after an update. That's just because the pool is smaller while players are still updating. And they're talking about the first hour after an update. Yes, that makes perfect sense. We already knew that. Looting knocked out players doesn't affect your matchmaking. Matchmaking looks at how you engage with other raiders, not what you do with the gear afterwards. I also was saying that this was this exact same thing as well, as much as people were trying to prove me wrong. I never saw me looting knocked out players affect anything. And as I've said from the beginning, I've only ever noticed damage. Raider damage divided by the last 10 games. I still stand by that. We don't matchmake based on only on the squad leader. Interesting. Each member influences the squad profile. The leader has no special weight compared to their squad mates. Okay, so it's probably taking an average of the 3. More than likely. Like if you go back and look at this chart, like if you play here, your buddy is here and your other buddy is here, you know, it's probably going to match you right here, you know, somewhere in the middle, right? It's probably taking an average of all 3 of your profile distributions or whatever, however you want to word it. So that's interesting. I never thought that it was the squad leader made all the difference, but there were times when it kind of felt like it. Because I remember one time I was in full PvE lobbies and my duo partner was in full PvP, and we loaded in, and I mean everyone was friendly. It was like a friendly duo lobby. I don't see them too often, but it definitely was a friendly duo lobby. Every single team that we came across like talked to us and it was cool. So that's why I thought that squad leader had an influence there, but apparently it does not. And it must have just been like us getting that average and then getting placed into that lobby that was a little bit more friendly. Turning crossplay on or off does not impact the level of cooperation / PvP in the round. Changing crossplay changes who's in the matchmaking pool. And thanks to that, the matchmaking time. But it doesn't guarantee the tone of your encounters. I don't think anyone really thought that. I think what people have always said about this is that, like, I guess people were kind of shaming console players. I think the console players like don't use their mic or whatever, and so when there's like when there's less communication, there's more shooting. I think to say it simply, I think people were trying to insinuate that. I don't know if anyone actually thought that turning crossplay off was going to actually change the matchmaking in any other way other than just like that type of player that you encounter. And quite frankly, I turned crossplay off and I didn't notice a difference. So this makes perfect sense. Really interesting though. Really interesting on the myth busting. Very cool. I'm glad I can't believe they're sharing all this with us. Is that freaking crazy? Am I tripping? Okay, new matchmaking changes. Based on community feedback, we've identified 2 major shortcomings in how we used to estimate playstyle, and both are getting addressed. What? Defending yourself is no longer treated the same as starting a fight. Previously, your playstyle didn't capture whether you started a PvP encounter or merely defend yourself. Okay, so I was right about it just being damaged. Didn't matter how it happened. This meant cautious raiders could be treated as more PvP focused than they actually are. Now the 2 are treated differently. Woo! Yo, that's great. And we knew it was possible. Escape from Tarkov has that exact mechanic when it comes to scav rep. Like if you're a scav and Escape from Tarkov and you shoot another scav, you get the negative rep. If they shoot back, they do not. Now, I will say this, in that game, that the person that shot at you had to actually connect the shot. So you had to actually receive damage, then return fire and win in order for that system to work, as far as you not getting negatively hit on your friendliness, basically. I don't know if that's going to be the case with this. Like, imagine you see a player, that player shoots at you, misses, and you one-tap them with whatever. I have a feeling the game's not going to know that player was shooting at you or not, because the only way it can tell is if they damage you. So I think more than likely that's still going to be the case. They actually probably have to connect the shot first, if I had to guess. Well, that'll be something we can test though. Number 2, low activity rounds carry less weight in your playstyle history. Oh, sheesh, you can no longer surrender at the start of the raids. You used to be able to just surrender 10 raids in a row, just spawn in and surrender 10 raids in a row and be instantly placed in the lowest PvE bracket. Rounds with little topside interaction like spawning and surrendering used to impact players' estimated playstyle more than expected. Reducing their weight helps the system reflect how you genuinely play when you're out there making choices. That's actually awesome. I think that's really good. Because it protects against players purposefully surrendering, like PvP players purposely surrendering to end up in a PvE lobby and just have one raid where they, murk 25 little billy goats running around, at a campfire. So that sort of helps against that. I'd be curious to see like how much it really helps. Like, can I surrender 20 times now and it's the same as the 10 before, or what? I guess we'll be playing around with it. But that's actually that's a W. I like that change. Because now what it's really doing is making it more about you and how you truly play the game. And you don't need to hide from that fact, right? And I think that's good. I think this is a really good. These are live now, and we'll continue to keep tuning them as we see how they play out. Okay, wow, that's great. Let's freaking go. I think this is a W right here. I can't even believe we're getting this information. This is really, really cool. Let's see. Raid your way. To sum it up, we're committing to making Topside more fair, more fun, and more rewarding without sanding off the edges that make Arc Raiders what it is. Play how you want to play. Over time, your behavior helps shape the kinds of raiders you're most likely to encounter. But there's always going to be room for the unexpected. I mean, I'm going to be real with you. This is a W, and this sentence right here sums up Arc Raiders perfectly. Like, always leave room for the unexpected and have fun out there. And it is what it is. If you die, if you're a PvE player and someone shoots at you, it is not the end of the world. All right. It's easy to get back on your feet. Expect the unexpected, even when you're in a PvE lobby, and you know when you are. So, I mean, I think that's important. And I'm glad that they're sticking to this distinction. Right? This is a huge freaking W update. This is really, really interesting. I love the Mythbusters as well. This is I mean, this to me, I know they said there's not 2 buckets, but they're saying, because people are saying there's just a PvE bucket and a PvP bucket. And I've never said that. I've always said there's 3 buckets. Did you guys see this is my MS Paint from earlier today. We literally just talked about this today. This is the PvE bucket. This is the PvP bucket. And there's a bucket in the middle that overlaps them all. This is how I see it, and I still see it. You could be a PvE player and still kind of end up in those 50-50 lobbies, right? And PvP players can end up in 50-50 lobbies as well. And there's plenty of 50-50 lobbies out there where a lot of people are friendly. And there's also a lot of 50-50 lobbies where there's a lot of people that are angry, but it's still a 50-50 lobby nonetheless. And then of course there's some that, are almost perfectly split down the middle with aggression. But like, you never know what you're going to get in one of these lobbies. So that's so funny. This was this was today. We were just talking about it. I still believe in the 3 bucket. I mean, they literally have 3 buckets. They have the cooperative, the mixed, and the PvP. I think what they're saying here, that it's not just the 2 kinds of lobbies. And it's obviously, I'm simplifying it, calling it a bucket, but everything overlaps. The only thing that doesn't overlap is like super PvE with super PvP. When you're a PvE player and you get shot at, you're getting shot at by someone that's in the mixed area. That's it. Someone that's decided that they were going to fire, or opportunistic PvPers or whatever. Rats, cowards, you know how it is. There's a gazillion types of players out there. But really, really interesting. Great freaking update from Embark. Big W in my opinion. Let's go. I'm really glad that they shared this. And I can't wait to see some of these new changes in action. I think it's going to be really cool. I think this is good stuff. I especially like the part where you can't just like full send down into a PvE lobby. As much as like I enjoyed doing that whenever I wanted to switch from PvP to like go do some trials and stuff, it's probably for the best that we can't do that. So to me, this is a massive update. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Drop a sub if you want to be a part of the conversation going forward. We're live here on YouTube and on Twitch on the regular. Thanks for chilling, and I will catch you in the next one.